You guys are all queens. You just not the motherfucking queen.
Welcome back to That's So Bold. You guys recognize the voice and the girl. It is Yani. And today we have with us two astonishing ladies who are going to break in to share a little bit more about this Rob Kardashian and Blac Chyna case. Starting it off, I would love to introduce you guys to Sips with Chyna.
Hello, everybody. So my name is Chyna from Sit with Chyna, and I'm a journalist. It's nice to be here with you guys. I can get a little messy, but today I'm gonna keep it clean.
And then on the line, we also have attorney April A. Robinson. She is the CEO and the owner of Elevation Law Firm. She is a graduate of Spelman, y'all, and she graduated her college with honors. And also, you guys, she went to Boston College of Law. And you guys, she has over 10 years of experience in the business. Her credentials speak for itself. So you guys know that I don't want to waste any time. Let's get straight into the mess. What's the tea, sis? So if you ladies want to start us off, I know you have a lot of background going on. So I want to kick it off to Mrs. April to share more about the case going on with Rob Kardashian and Blac Chyna.
And just at the outset, I would like to thank That's So Bold and Sip with Chyna for being neutral journalists that are committed to fact-finding and actually getting accurate narratives out instead of just pandering to the Kardashian machine. So at the top, the lawsuit, they're putting out a lot of stories, but no one's actually relying to the actual complaint. Can we put up the complaint on the screen, the first page? So now that the team has it up, you see that the complaint, Blac Chyna is waging 11 counts of various activity against the Kardashians for the conduct in which and how they carried themselves in the conduct after the breakup with Rob. And she's alleging essentially that it was retaliatory because she was leaving the family, breaking up with the brother, and they didn't like that she had permeated the Kardashian empire. So at the outset, let's just dive straight into it. So at the complaint that you see up on the screen, it is 11 charges. The first charge is assault. And that's interesting. And they go in great detail about it. The complaint is public information. This is not anything confidential or proprietary. All of this is on the court's judicial docket. Anyone can look this up. Count 2, battery. Count 3, distribution of private materials. And they said that, but that's a euphemism for the revenge P. Domestic violence. Count 5, harassment. Count 6, intrusion into private affairs. Count 7, false light. Count 8, disclosure of private facts, another privacy invasion. Count 9, defamation with libel in parentheses. So defamation is when you speak some slanderous stuff against someone, speaking it verbally. And libel is when you take it and transcribe it and write it. So it's actually defaming you 2 times over because they speak it and then memorialize it in writing. Count 10, interference with contractual relationships, specifically with the E-network. And last but not least, count 11, interference with prospective economic relations, which is essentially just interfering with someone else's bag. So those are the counts. That is the actual facts, because we see a lot of gossip circulating, but Blac Chyna has filed a very serious lawsuit with very serious allegations, and it is 59 pages of unfettered, absolute receipt after receipt of the things that she alleged she experienced at the behest in the hands of the Kardashian empire.
So sorry. So as you notice that there are 11 different counts that she's saying that occurred, starting off number 1 straight with assault. I'm assuming, and of course you can correct me if I'm wrong, since you're coming from the law standpoint, this is Blac Chyna stating that there was some type of assault that occurred between herself and Rob Kardashian. Is that correct?
Yes. So this is Blac Chyna in her complaint alleging that there was some type of assault at the hands of Rob Kardashian. And also, in addition to making this statement, she also prepared in the body of the complaint a text message where it shows where she was actually communicating with someone about her allegations and her experiences with Mr. Rob Kardashian. And give me 1 second because I want to go specifically to the page so we can get that up on the board.
Page 10.
But it's page 10, and I want regurgitate because these are all allegations and it has to be proven in a court of law. But if you put the complaint up on page 10 and you all see we have provision number 38 highlighted. And this is where Blac Chyna, whether you like her or not, no one deserves to have their economic situation interfered or encroached upon. You don't have to like her lifestyle. You don't have to like her persona. But no one can walk up into your job, my job, and say, hey, I don't like this person personally, so forego all of their opportunities and starve them out. And regardless of how they want to package it, that's problematic. And when you throw in the element of assault, also with the economic stuff, this becomes a reign of terror, if you will. And these are very powerful people. Let's be honest. Right now, the media has ran with the story about me and they don't even know my name nor my credentials. But I understand that you don't always get the benefit of having positive press when you're in the public. So maybe I don't like those things, but that's not grounds for me to go file a lawsuit to tell people in the public forum they can't talk about me. The Kardashians, as much as they appropriate Black culture, they have really leaned into their whiteness with the privilege that they're exercising in the judicial system. I have tried cases over and over again. And I've never had clients receive the privileges that the Kardashians have, and for very serious matters.
Absolutely. I absolutely think that there is a tone of privilege that's being used here, especially when, regardless if they like Blac Chyna or not, coming from a journalist standpoint, there is history of Rob Kardashian having some type of domestic violence, which he did allege, as well as assault. As you guys know, on their TV show, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, there are scenes and clips when Rob Kardashian previously was in about a 2-year relationship with Adrienne Bailon, who now goes by Adrienne Holton. And there have actually been clips that aired on Keeping Up with the Kardashians where we actually saw Rob Kardashian physically strike her. I do believe that it was a slap, if I'm not mistaken. And that was something that they did air on television. So there is some type of history also behind it. Simple Chyna, I know that you have more information there.
Yes, and also I do want to say that he did allege that he was joking and he was playing, and that way, you know, people would know that he put out that he was only joking. But if you watch it and you see the terrorizing look on her face, it doesn't seem like she was in on the joke and that it was a joke. It seems as if she was very scared. And she has talked about, you know, after the show, that she regret even doing the show.
And just from a legal standpoint, so people will know this is factual. On page 35 of the complaint, there's an entire page and there's a section dedicated to discussing this instance where they're talking about his conduct, his temper, his propensity to lash out. So the Kardashians have the benefit of a mass media machine. TMZ, Shade Room, and all of these people appear to be on their payroll because no one is addressing what's happening inside of the trial. They're so busy focused on Tokyo Toni, who runs a channel that she's been running for 5 years now with satire, comedy, pop culture, and act like that's disruptive to the trial. No, counselors, what's disruptive if you're facing 11 charges? I think you should redirect your efforts into the actual courtroom, because what Tokyo Toni is doing on YouTube or Instagram for entertainment has no bearing on that case. And if it does, I'm going to double down and tell the Kardashian attorneys, you don't know your job well enough. And maybe litigation is not your foray.
Also, I wanted to talk about the part where on page 10, if you guys could put up page 10, that I wanted to talk about how the nanny, which is you will see in the text message, she was allegedly, this is alleged from the court case in court files. She had to call the nanny to come and get King, which is Blac Chyna's son, whom was 4 years old at the time, because Robert Kardashian he literally slapped her and she fell to the floor, allegedly. So that's on page 10 in the files. And let's talk about the size of Rob Kardashian, because people they understand that he's on the more heavier side, but he is 6'2" as well. So you have a man whom is 6'2", 280 pounds. And you have Blac Chyna, who is very petite. She's a very petite woman, and she's 5'2". And so imagine if a hand is coming down on you from a 6'2" height and coming down on a 5'2" woman, if this is true, of course he could slap her down to the ground. And this was covered up for some time, if true. So I did want to get into that and how she had to, after that, she disclosed that she ran into the room, and then she ran into and hid inside of a closet and was very scared of this man because he would not calm down. And the main reason why they was arguing, allegedly, is because of Tyga. So, yeah, if anyone has any questions about that, I would definitely be able to answer as I was speaking about it.
I don't even bring Tyga into this. I think the Kardashians are trying to divert attention away from the substance of the trial. Because looking at the complaint, just hearing you even mention that, there's allegations that he was violent against the nanny. That is an allegation in the complaint. And we have put that up on the screen so we can show that. It's Chyna, and the nanny had to intervene and get King just so the child assumably couldn't be exposed to that type of activity. And also they highlighted how Adrian had a past relationship. And I want to show everyone legally, they highlighted on page 35 the past alleged abuse that Rob Kardashian inflicted on Adrian, not to be petty or be vindictive. But I think it points to a larger picture because all of the Kardashians over the past 10 years, we have witnessed at least, I'm thinking most of them engage in some type of scuffle, curse out, drunk driving, an entire gamut of activity that people would describe as unbecoming, but it's the thing that makes reality TV reality TV. So I don't understand how is it that Rob can engage in these fake slaps. I've never heard of it. I don't think many people would like to be the recipient of a fake slap, but that's the narrative he put out. But how is it that Rob and all of his sisters can engage in the very conduct that they demonize Chyna for? All of them have engaged in enjoying themselves at a party, having too much to drink. We've seen Khloe have a DUI, all of these things, and these women are never vilified for their conduct, but yet they want to come to Chyna and say that she's wrong or she's a villain for doing the very same thing. No, Kardashian, she's a reality star too. And I know it may be difficult, but I don't understand how the Kardashians think that they could operate within this reality world and do everything curated, have security, all of this rolled out and be exempt from criticism. Well, fortunately, I'm here. In this matter, they are flawed. And it is not okay to interfere with anyone's business endeavors, regardless of the personal vendetta you have with them related to some sibling rivalry. And we all can see that the family was having messy issues. But for them to actively send email correspondences, for them to refuse to film, which is pretty much the pillar show on this network, unless they ask Chyna, that is directly interfering with her contract, which she signed on the dotted line to receive $92,000. So bringing up Rob's conduct shows that they're criticizing Chyna for the very things they do on their show. If she can say things like that and make intimations of that nature, what room or space do they have? It's the audacity at an all-time Kardashian high to believe that they can infringe on someone else's constitutionally protected First Amendment right. You're not exempt from satire. And to be clear, going a little bit further, showing how they engaged in the very conduct they criticized, the hypocrisy of the Kardashians, Kim Kardashian went on SNL. It doesn't become a bigger platform for her comedy debut. And she used her then husband, that they were in the middle of a divorce, the proceedings were active, as a joke line. He wasn't receptive and wasn't pleased with that, but free speech allows that. So how is it that Kim could use SNL as a platform to drag her husband in the middle of a court proceeding that they're going through, but Tokyo Toni, who's not even a party to the suit, can't make an observation and say that she didn't like the outfits that the Kardashians had on? Newsflash, ladies, everybody doesn't like you. And that's life. Everyone's not going to like you. The delusions of your Instagram and social media is clouding your judgment. And it's difficult to see the reality. You have fans, but you have people who are not fans. And that is okay. So sending gag orders or false media reports to try to curtail that just makes you look even more disingenuous. And it goes to the point that your reality TV was never reality. It was always scripted because it's nothing you do organic. Speak my piece. Sorry, it's just the hypocrisy with this case that bothers me. And it's so clear. This is classism. They're painting Tokyo Toni. The words I'm hearing is ghetto and things thrown out like that. But Kardashian ladies, you ladies are ghetto too. Okay.
And I definitely want to say something about that because, you know, they are baby mamas. They're unwed. And sorry, but if you label Chyna as an unwed mother and say that she's ghetto or trashy for that, then you have to say Kylie is as well, whom was a teen mom. You have to say that. I mean, there's no double standard here. It's the same thing. And if we want to say, you know, let's talk about this part, you know, since we brought up, you know, being ghetto and being trashy, we have Miss Kris Jenner with an email being sent to the producers of the show, have her saying that Blac Chyna is stupid and ghetto. And I wonder, do she think that her daughters are stupid and ghetto as well because they all engage in the same activity? So you talking about Blac Chyna, you're talking about your daughters.
And if it's possible, can we put up the video with the coverage from the press in London talking about this email? So in the email correspondence, they call her ghetto. And let's all be honest, or are we going to pretend? Ghetto is a word that's waged against African Americans in America, everyone. It's not really a word that we apply with white people, and it carries an intonation of some type of race and class-based prejudice. And let's just be honest. Because when Chloe, your daughter, was on Crenshaw throwing up Crip signs and gang signs with the game, no one called her ghetto. So we have to just have more accountability with the language, because it's those type of microaggressions that allow them to try to paint Chyna and her mother as a villain when these women engaged in this conduct 10 times over.
I completely agree. I think coming into this entire situation, I think they've absolutely used their image, they've used their privilege, they've used their money, especially in leverages, i.e. even coming to a case or coming to court when they are trying to select members of her jury. There was no need for them to be in attendance, and I feel like they used that as a power leverage in order to try to hurt her. And then I think having, whether it was her mom actually being escorted out, whether being asked to leave, whether it was Tokyo Toni making that decision to step away on her own, I feel like it was still another attempt for the media to try to flip the narrative to make Blac Chyna the assailant rather than the victim in the situation. And that is something that I think that they are failing to realize. I think that stems into more than just this case. I think it also kind of starts with how they view Black women in general, starting with adultification of youth all the way up into once they are adults. And I feel like the way that they persecute Black women in particular always allows for them to be seen as the aggressor or the one that needs to be reprimanded, even if their reactions or their responses are due to individuals doing things against them. So I think that we should be honest in everything that's at hand and not just look at fame or status as means of right or wrong.
Exactly. And it's not like, my thing is, I'm completely neutral on the matter. They're all reality stars, but it's the hypocrisy of the Kardashians. And in my opinion, I'm disappointed in the court for what appears to be a slight acquiescence to the privilege being paraded around that courtroom. For the Kardashians to have 6 deputy bailiffs stand outside the parking garage, the private parking garage, not public, so that their Bentleys and trucks could come out. Well, let me explain something about court. Every courtroom, every judge must have a bailiff assigned for safety, protection, all of that. So if you got that many bailiffs out watching to flag her car and stop traffic for what was not necessary, no media's there, no fanfare. So this is just giving them bonuses and privileges. So we have 6 deputies now outside directing their 2 to 3 high-end luxury cars when it's no one out here and no one even knows they're coming out of the secret garage. So those 6 deputies were not in the courtroom. So because of the Kardashian, 6 courtroom proceedings got placed on hold. That is privilege. That is privilege at the highest degree. That is a big flex to stop everything. I don't like when I have to go to the court and navigate extra loopholes because a celebrity is in the building. Because the last time I checked, all the statues outside of every courthouse in America has Lady Justice who wears a blindfold. So your class, your creed, your race shouldn't matter before a judicial system. But what we're seeing is the red carpet. They're treating this like the Grammys. Secret interests, they're treating them more important than the public actually cares about. And that's indicative of there's no fanfare outside. So going back to Tokyo Toni, I want to clarify, Tokyo Toni was in an extended meeting with me yesterday. She never attempted to go to the courtroom. When Tokyo Toni arrived at the courtroom, one of the bailiffs said, Kimberly said she was afraid and intimidated. Tokyo Toni said, not today. I'm not even going in there. I don't want the energy. There's no standing judicial order issued by the honorable judge presiding over the case. There is no bailiff footage showing her being extracted because she never even went in. And you see Tokyo Toni was live yesterday at a rooftop. That was the cafeteria area and the lounge area of the courthouse, the rooftop, because she didn't want to even go through the friction of trying to dissuade security and all of the bailiffs that surround the Kardashians, that her alone within her 5'1" self and a pair of pumps was harmless to them. And she said it in her Tokyo Toni way, in her flavor. And my thing is, the Kardashians are not going to police and try to be paternalistic with how people communicate. You don't get that benefit. We've watched your show. You guys have cursed out your mothers on live TV. So trying to communicate and curate how someone communicates about you is disingenuous. But let me tell you just very clearly, Kim, you're out your lane. Kris, you stay out your lane. Khloe, you're out your lane. Kylie, you're out of your lane. Stay in your lane. And your lane right now is the Hulu channel. Fabrication and fallacies in the court of law. As you see, Chyna stood up to them. And this is not about Team Chyna. No, this is not anti-Kardashian. It's just right is right and wrong is wrong. People are ignoring the Kardashians at the behest of how many lawsuits right now? Kris's bodyguard sued her for sexual harassment. Like, it takes a lot for a bodyguard and a man to even go that far with the lawsuit, but he was just so fed up. That's January of this year. We're in April with this. There's another lawsuit coming against Rob with the photos. Kylie's adjacent to the Astro World stuff, but somehow everyone's still saying that they're gods. I don't know when celebrities became gods in the world. So because the Kardashians said something and paid TMZ, people who have never encountered me, never heard me speak, have decided to call me all types of salacious names, but I take it on the chin. It's disappointing that they wouldn't even try to do any due diligence to understand who I was before attacking me for the Kardashians, but that is how their media machine works. And when people are bold enough to stand up to them, they try to paint us as fallacy, conspiracy, and they have so many people on their payroll, it's difficult to do that. But today we're putting up receipts and truth. So I want to put up on the screen how many bailiffs and how they were giving them this special escort to leave the court. And you notice there is no one there. They're creating this. I'm just curious, hey, Kardashian clan, where are the Hulu cameras? Because you guys are making more fanfare and no one cares at the courthouse. I've been down there. There's no fanfare.
And just to point out, when you do see the video that is put up top, I want to point out that you do hear one person just asking, why are they receiving special treatment? And that is what everyone wants to know. Why? Because in the court of law, we're all supposed to be, we're supposed to be examined the same. We're supposed to be represented the same. And we're supposed to be treated the same way. I understand, being escorted out of private doors. I understand that they're a big celebrity. I understand that for safety. But being like, the way that the media is spinning things from paid news, which is TMZ, which I caught out on my own Instagram because I knew the truth. And also that's the Shade Room. Like, y'all, we understand that you guys are getting paid, but you're supposed to be transparent as a journalist. And every single journalist, you guys should feel the same way that I feel, that you're supposed to show both sides. There's no need to show only one side of the media that is, building up the Kardashians and tearing down one solid person, just one person that has nothing to do with this case. Nobody is saying what's happening inside the courtroom, but we're going to get to that.
So let's go there, because we talk about everything outside of the courtroom. They've selected a jury. They've started opening statements, and opening statements were impactful. Blac Chyna's attorney, Yani, started opening statements, presenting an actual copy of the contract showing this is the contract that Blac Chyna signed to enter into an agreement with E for her television show, season 2. So she opened very strong, saying we had a deal, period. The Kardashians' attorney opened, his theme was Blac Chyna wants to be a Kardashian. Now, from a legal standpoint, as someone who tries cases and enjoy trial work, the issue I have with that argument is that's just an ad hominem. That's not really anything grounded in law saying she wants to be me. What are we, on a high school playground? That's not grounded in law or substance. So you have Blac Chyna's attorney who presented a signed contract. And Kim Kardashian's attorney said, oh, they just want to be us. But the media is making it sound like Kim Kardashian's attorney is doing something magical when it's very mediocre. I try cases. It's very mediocre. So that's my issue. But going into what's happening in the courtroom, we have opening statements. Also, Blac Chyna has taken the witness stand. She has begun to go through the testimony about how they went for years, basically a reign of terror, interfering with endorsements, claiming her body was fake. So she lost endorsements on social media, losing money from the economic income of the show and all the potential syndication rights and royalties that would come from that. So it's like, you take away my show, you take away, the impact, the family dynamic that surrounds me, and then while I try to go out in the matrix and work, you keep basically attacking. No, Chris went too far. And let's just tell the truth. Chris, you thought you could do this because these were 2 Black girls that you thought was ghetto. And you could, and I'm putting air quotes, ditch the bitch. That's the email correspondence that was released today in court. So Angie from the Shade Room and Harvey, why are you guys so concerned about Tokyo instead of talking about ditch the bitch that was released in the actual exhibit today in court? Because it's easier to pander to the Kardashian machine instead of doing honest, accurate, at least balanced journalism. It's disappointing. It's disappointing. I'm tired of them diverting the attention on Tokyo. Please help me see and walk us through your clients on a witness stand in the impeachments. Or has Ryan Seacrest arrived into Los Angeles because he's on the witness list under a subpoena, but somehow he's in New York? So the Kardashian cases, from a litigation standpoint, they have a lot of things they need to deal with and redirect the attention inward. So Chyna wants to be me, and Tokyo's doing a satire parody does not answer anything related to these 11 charges. Nothing.
I absolutely agree. Coming from a journalist standpoint, you know that it is important for us to be fair, for us to be accurate, for us to track all sides of the story. In these documentaries that they're releasing, especially with their Hulu press release, as well as just past Keeping Up with the Kardashians, you can literally see moments where Kim Kardashian is showing, even in her documentary that she did with Paris, where she's literally calling the paparazzi on herself, to where she is making herself seem more relevant or more prevalent in the space. She was allowing it to be able to build her narrative to where, if I am here, I become this storyline. And because we do know that regardless of it being reality TV, some form of all reality TV is still scripted. And I feel like in having all these people come to show this rally of bodyguards or security, it's just another way to twist the narrative to play a damsel in distress, and trying to take it into, they're using these coin things of like, oh, let's criticize her behavior outside of court. Of course she's going to be rammed up. This is something that's happening against her daughter. There's real life emotions. And I think that they're trying to escape the fact of using wealth and using privilege and using celebrity status against someone who they know is going to cut up behind their child. And you're using this culture that you've kind of bought into, that you build your new brand on top of. You're trying to use those same things that you got from that culture to now tear down this woman for engaging and protecting of her child, regardless of their relationship, regardless of what you agree, disagree. In going to the facts at hand, the facts are leading in Chyna's favor, and that is why they have to have this outside court, or what I like to refer to as the social media court, solve this case for them, because it is so much easier to let social media dictate rights and wrongs and that blur into our judicial court system, opposed to letting the facts, the case, and the charges, the 11 counts that they have in their suing document actually kind of stand for what they are themselves. And I think that's what we're running into with Blac Chyna, is they're even now using things such as her OnlyFans income to say, hey, she has this money from outside sources. How are we stopping her funding? But if we look at it in reality, none of that was ever attached to the Kardashians. Her sex appeal, her image, Chyna started off with her own career outside of them. So in no way, shape, or form should her likeness or her image be attached to the Kardashians, because the only thing Kardashian related is the relationship with Rob, as well as the child that she shares with Rob. In no way does that pertain to her likeness or her image, nor are the Kardashians responsible for her being on that caliber, because we knew her from doing music videos. We knew her from her previous professions as a dancer, as well as Blac Chyna has always been on the scene from those who she's engaged with, as we've seen her in high media profile relationships with individuals like Future. You saw her with Tyga. So she's made a name in the space for herself. So I think it's really confusing as to how we're using her OnlyFans and her sex image to now associate that with the Kardashians.
And let's talk about the request for the OnlyFans, because again, from a purely legal standpoint, it is 11 accounts, and everything that the Kardashians legal team bring up does not directly respond or rebuttal the charges. Because even if Blac Chyna made $1 billion trillion on OnlyFans, that does not negate the fact that all of the Kardashians interfered with her income from E! News. OnlyFans has nothing to do with that. Again, that is what we call a red herring. When you talk about a fact that seems like it's relevant, but it actually has nothing to do with it. Because she can make $1 trillion in OnlyFans, and that does not negate the fact that Kim and her sisters went to E!, had private closed door meetings, and demanded that they axe the show. And even worse, they said, continue to film with Chyna. So for 8 months or 7 months, Chyna was having her privacy, encroached upon for the sake of the show. And the whole time they knew they had no intentions of moving forward with season 2. And everyone wants to say, oh, they broke up, there's nothing to it. Excuse me, how many housewives still stay on the housewives after a divorce? Season 2 was fully filmed. So everyone's so busy chasing gossip, won't you tune into the trial? Season 2 was already fully filmed, and they were going to focus the angle on co-parenting. And Rob even begged his family to retreat. On page 43 of the complaint, and can we get that up? Can we get the IT team to get it up? If you scroll down to the line 17, it says an email from Rob Kardashian, and we got it highlighted on the screen. I'm trying to work on myself, trying to grow and change. I'm looking to be the man you all are proud of. Part of that is working through my issues with Chyna. I love Chyna, and I want to be able to tell my daughter that I did everything I could to make it work with her mother. Most of my confidence comes from me having this show every day. I want a second season of Rob and Chyna. I want to use this show to make myself stronger. And what does his sisters do? They go have closed door meetings behind his back and say, still cancel it. So they were talking about the toxicity of Chyna and Rob's relationship, which we all can concede was not, the best perfect relationship. It was contentious. But the Kardashian sisters, you guys are just as culpable and guilty of inflicting pain and harm upon your brother. He's telling you his confidence is hinged on this. He's telling you that he wants to pursue something with this woman. But you all, in your arrogance, think you know more than this man for his life. And you say, no, ditch the bitch, Kris Kardashian. And you're so arrogant with the attempt that you memorialize it in writing. Every decent professional knows if you're going to talk like that in that type of ghetto tone, at least don't memorialize it in writing, sis.
I completely agree. And just like we know that, and it's very unfortunate that they decided to do that, because Rob Kardashian, he was suffering. Like, we see how, he is now just from a standpoint, just from viewing him and just listening and looking at him. At one point, he felt so great about himself, and now he's depressed, and he has to, depend on his sister and his mother, and he lives with Kourt Kardashian allegedly. And I know that he doesn't want that for himself, because he wanted to make money on his own, but they took it from him just because they didn't like who he decided to have a beautiful baby with.
And I think another thing that we should really fixate on, and especially with you being a lawyer, being able to provide us with those perspectives, something that I also noticed is in this, there's 11 different counts that she's kind of saying that has occurred. However, they're only ever fixating on the amount of lost wages. They're not acknowledging the assault. They're not acknowledging battery. They're not acknowledging the defamation of character. So can you let me know, what is your thoughts on why do you think they're only fixated on the loss of wages? Since we do know that she has other revenues of income, why are they not taking on like the future things that are going to come about, such as like the revenge porn case, as well as things that with Rob Kardashian being physically abusive? Why do you think they're like negating away from those topics?
Okay, well, one, I think the number one thing with staying away from the other charges and focusing on the money is a way to devalue Chyna. The quickest way in law and in any arena to devalue a person is put a price tag on them. And as women, we all know this. If you go out with a guy and have a good time and he leaves money, that is so disrespectful. To put a price tag, so to basically, I feel they're trying to set it up as Chyna is money hungry, and we want to show that this is ridiculous. And they don't want to give attention to all of the charges, but they're going with the story, the fake story that they have the media run. This is how the Kardashian media machine works. They don't say it, but they'll let TMZ say it because Harvey thinks no one will sue him for his lies. They'll let Angie run with something that's murky and not really clear because she knows Shade Room has a big following. And, you know, a lot of people lean to them for the pop culture.
I agree. I think they absolutely are leaning on this for pop culture, whether it's for views, whether it's for ratings. I think the one thing that we made a point is it's not about right or wrong, whether you like them personally. It's going to come down to, are they guilty for these specific actions? Did they cause her to lose wages, regardless of what her finances look like outside of them or outside of this, directly related to the relationship that she had with the E! Network? There is some liability on the Kardashians' end that they need to be held responsible for. And that is ultimately what this case, what this lawsuit is about. And that needs to bring the bread and butter in and outside of the courtroom. I think we can all agree on that aspect.
And also, let's talk about the story that Angie so disappointingly posted today from Shade Room about Blac Chyna choking Rob the gun. Like, Angie is the queen of receipts. That's why the Shade Room is the Shade Room. Angie never posts things without a receipt. She just posted hearsay today. Now, that allegedly happened at Kylie Jenner's house, and we all know that the Kardashians' celebrity status and who they are, and most people now have one camera at their house. But we're sure this home has several cameras, footage, surveillance everywhere. And also, they say Corey was a witness, and they had footage. It's been 5 years since Chyna and her legal team has requested this footage of this activity, and they've never produced it. And at the last minute, instead of producing it 2 days before this trial started, they just said, we're going to drop it because we're going to be the bigger person. No, I'm going to call a spade a spade. It just seems like you might have been dishonest and you didn't think this lawsuit, Chyna would take it this far. So they tried to leverage that false statement against Chyna to make her drop her lawsuit. Again, another issue of slinging your weight around, exercising privilege and power to sway the judiciary. If the Kardashians aren't corrected or at least treated like normal citizens here, they will become a problem. This VIP service, parking underground, the public parking lot will do. It holds all cars just the same. And for heaven's sakes, they have security. So I don't, the special privileges and everyone constantly talking about things don't matter, but you pointed out, Yani and Chyna, you talked about it. There are 11 charges. And there are some big charges, and this complaint has it. Page 35, page 43. It's not just words, it's emails. It is photos showing women being afraid of Rob. It is physical photos showing this. But no one in the media is talking about that. They want to talk about Tokyo doing a twerk on 420.
Absolutely. I think you're right. I think that it's too many individuals that are not attached to this case that are being held liable or being held responsible. Because at the end of the day, when you are looking at the plaintiff and when you're looking at the defendant, not any point of it does it include incumbents of her mother. It is strictly talking about Angela's experiences with the Kardashians and different members of the Kardashians. When you look at the receipts, I know that they're going to be showing the different images, but it's going to show things that that are attached to drugs, that are attached to pornography, that are attached to so many other things at hand, but they are choosing to penalize individuals that are not attached to this. And if we're looking at it simply for the case that's put at hand, you cannot say that Chyna is wrong, whether you like her, whether you disagree. Coming from a purely factual evidence, they did cause her to lose money with E-Networks. That is something they need to be held liable for. Now, whatever happens publicly, I feel like they're absolutely using their status, especially now that they're pushing things like, you were going to be using this to fund promo for your Hulu show, the same way that you're saying that she did not like this likeness of you, or the image that she's trying to put out about herself does not attach to your brand, but they're not associating her brand when they think about what they're doing to discredit her, because they're pushing their views, they're pushing their money. You're going to get some type of platform of it, and I'm sure at some point in time, as they are making new Hulu episodes, at some point in time, they're going to be speaking on Blac Chyna. Don't use her likeness for funding if she is unable to share her life because it is attached to you all in some avenue.
I definitely agree with that, because allegedly, this is what I heard from the grapevine. Well, not the actual grapevine. Hold on. We got to take that out. Don't put that in there. Okay. I definitely agree with you, because this is something that I heard from a little birdie. You know, a little birdie told me that there were 2 Hulu cameras in the courtroom. So they would definitely use this, because, and this is alleged, they would definitely use this footage for their likeness and have Chyna all over their television show on Hulu called The Kardashians. But they need to cut a check if they're going to do that. And so, like, you can't just sit here and say that other people, they put out work, they put out dirt, but they don't want the dirt to come back to them. Like this lawsuit here, it never should have even happened. They never should have done the things that they've done to Chyna, which is alleged in the files, in the court documents. This is alleged that Chyna was filming. She filmed the whole season 2. She thought that she would get paid for those shootings, you know, for shooting that footage. And then it turns out that they're just saying, you know what, you don't matter. Sorry for all of the money that you missed out on that you could have been making. But I'm sorry, but oh well, figure it out. And then, oh, hold on, we're gonna also slander your name so that you're unable to make money. Let's just all go to, on our phones, go to Instagram right now. You can, if you type in Blac Chyna, BLACCHYNA, that hashtag says it's hidden. Why? Because of Kardashians. Because she was definitely blacklisted, and she was unable to make money after going through with the Kardashians. And a lot of people said that is why they hate that they even dealt with the Kardashians, because if they don't like you, they will make sure that you don't eat, you don't make money. And that's just that. And it's horrible.
And another thing is, they said they talked a lot about the show being toxic and their concern for their brother. And even that seems so disingenuous, because over the past several seasons of the Kardashians, they barely mention Rob. It's the people who have curiosity. But when we speak about toxicity, I think, again, it's their privilege, because they think their world is the world. Because there are parents out there that thinks it's toxic to display an underage illegal relationship with a teenager and a grown man. And not only display, have the parents co-sign and travel across the world on vacations as if she is an adult. And we are not to blame Kylie because she was a child. But that's toxic, because that normalizes that type of conduct. And if we further talk about toxicity, there are some people of the school of thought, there may be groups of feminists that may hold the opinion that the unrealistic body standards and the constant lying and pretending that those were your God-given bodies is unhealthy for women and girls. In those categories, people will call that segment of the show toxic. The way and manner in which the Kardashians speak with their mother, that it's toxic. If you were from the South like me, that is viewed as toxic because, you only say yes, ma'am to your mom. Yelling, cursing, sexual vulgarity in front of your mom, unacceptable. But again, that's toxic from my perspective. So for them to say that Rob and Chyna's show is toxic, I must say the Kourtney and Scott saga was one of the most toxic relationships ever aired. Kim has been going through a divorce longer than a marriage. Toxic. Kylie broke up with her when she got out the underage illegal relationship. That's no fault of her own. She jumped into a relationship and she was pregnant within a month or two. So I'm not judging any of those, but I'm saying, Kardashians, you can't throw stones if you live in a glass house. In this complaint, Rob talks about Chyna, you got pregnant the first month you met me. And I thought, didn't Kylie do the same thing to Travis Scott? The hypocrisy. So ladies, you can't get mad because Blac Chyna is living her best life and living it up. It seems like you guys want to be the only reality stars. The delusion, and I'm so disappointed in what I see with the court slowly acquiescing to the Kardashians. But I've heard, I'm not from LA, and I've heard out in LA that happens a lot with high profile cases. And that's unfortunate because justice shouldn't be able to be swayed by who has the largest pocketbook. And that goes back and reinforces Chyna's point. They use their wealth and power to influence, interfere with contractual relationships. And then that's the primary central theme of Chyna's complaint. They use their wealth and power. So what does the Kardashians attorney do? File a motion to not mention wealth. That's the central theme of the complaint. And let's talk about Forbes being voluntary, because Beyonce's been a billionaire, but she hasn't submitted credentials because she's just not into it. So you voluntarily let us know that your $200,000 car collection matches your home. You got diamonds worth this and diamonds worth this. You're on Forbes every second you get. So thirsty to be on Forbes. One of you fabricated it. You go out your way to display wealth. And now we can't talk about it. That's the very thing you use to penetrate different arenas. Because if we're honest, the Kardashians are famous for being famous, not knocking the hustle or influence, whatever. But at one point, let's be honest, fame used to be the byproduct of success. Now with the Kardashian model, fame is the byproduct of fame, in which one creates their own fame. Some people would view that model as so heavily narcissistic and in the spirit of do what thou wilt that it is toxic. So for them to hone in and talk about Chyna's toxic relationship with Rob, they opened the door to their toxic relationships. Kim just made a misrepresentation in the media about her ex-husband seeking mental health, and it comes to find out he was on a relaxing vacation in the reservations. I think it was the Navajo Nation reservations. That is toxic. Having your daughter sit on a man's lap that's not a stepfather, that is not embedded, and doing that when you know your husband is having a difficult time, or you and your ex-husband have a difficult time with this divorce. That's toxic. And Kim, you did it right in front of the cameras. You know your neighborhood. That's toxic. So you guys are worried about Blac Chyna. I don't know how to tell the case this, but y'all are the queens of toxicity. But the only thing that distinguishes you is you all are white women. But it's toxic behavior, toxic relationships, toxic outcomes with their spouses. And some people would even argue that it's toxic for the Kardashians to put filters on their children because they say that will give the children some type of warp. Some people say that's toxic. So when we're looking at the toxicity scale, I need the entire K clan. So please put your stones away because all of you all live in glass houses.
And I just wanted to put up, since the Kardashians say that they don't want their, wealth to be displayed in court, I do want to just point out this fact that for the Kardashian salary for the TV show on Hulu, they get paid around from $8.3 million to $12.5 million per season. And that is only with their TV show alone. The new one, the Kardashians.
And that's 8.5 million each, not total. Let's make sure
right.
Each.
And that's each. like each Kardashian will receive a range from 8.3 million to 12.5 million per season. Why can't we bring up wealth when they live a luxurious life? They post on social media their luxurious life, and honestly, it's very beautiful. I can't say, and most people would say that that is admirable. So why can't they use that admiration that they so love so much in court with regular jurors?
Absolutely. You guys already know my verbiage is let's get right into the mess. What's the tea, sis? Let's get into the tea. Going aside from the court case, going inside like the Kardashians being a machine, when we look at them in reality, we can absolutely tell that it's never what a Kardashian does. It's all about how you are going to respond to their inappropriate behavior. And because they know they're coming in with a check, because they know they're coming in with this status, it's always going to be, let me do what I want to do, and then let the media dictate where you fall. We're seeing that in so many different examples to where in her very public divorce that she has going on with Kanye West, whether you agree or disagree with his stance, his positioning, the things that he does, she already knew because she was married to him. She knew his stressors. She knows his triggers. And I think that this is a pure way of using social media to antagonize him, especially with the different things that we've seen her do. And then when it comes into now she's having this case with Blac Chyna, although Blac Chyna and Kanye West are not attached, they're all attached to the same individual. And every time, if you notice, per historic data, anytime someone has been in involvement with the Kardashians, something happens to where they no longer have the same active running relationship with the Kardashians. They are in some form of blacklisting, some type of social media harassment. And we've seen that occur with every ex and or any failed relationships that's attached to the Kardashians. You can attest this in looking at Jordan Woods. You can see it in different people that Kim Kardashian has had divorce relationships with. Scott had his moment where it was Scott, and they tried to pin these stories with Khloe, with Kourtney, and it went into their realm. You can even see that with like Lamar Odom. You could even see it with Reggie Bush. There are so many individuals that at some point in time have been attached to the Kardashians, and in breaking away from the Kardashians and reclaiming who they are outside of the Kardashian clan, there is some turning point and where they are backlash, whether it's things that they are being held for appropriately and or if it's disproportionate due to the fact that they had some type of relation with the Kardashian. And I don't understand why we always victimize those who have relationships with Kardashians, but never the Kardashians for what they are doing in said relationship. And that's ultimately why we're going to forever see these lawsuits, forever see these cases, and we have got to stop seeing the Kardashians as these victims and rather than victimizers. And that's where all of this is going to stand upon. And I commend Blac Chyna, whether you agree or disagree with her stance. I commend her because she is going up against a machine. She understands that it is bigger than the Kardashians. It's bigger than just the brands because there are so many deals and intricacies that they are tied up in. So you are going against a machine, but you're fighting for your respectability and you're fighting for literally your child and their livelihoods, regardless of what they release on social media. We only know what we can see. We can only report on what is present and open knowledge. And based off of the facts that are stated here, you cannot tell me that Blac Chyna does not have an arguable case that she can take to court to show, no, here's absolute certainty without reasonable doubt that these individuals are guilty of these actions, whether you like or dislike. It's about proving reasonable doubt in court, and I do not think those are the means that the Kardashians have reasonable doubt to show that they did not cause her to lose wages.
And I mean, I think the Kardashians are so nervous about this lawsuit, and it shows that Blac Chyna has a solid shot. She has a legitimate cause of action that their attorney, this hotshot attorney, Mr. Marty Singer, hotshot attorney, the best of the best, all he does is focus on things that are not on the body of the complaint. So I don't know what's happening with the attorney that's not arguing the law within the confines of the courtroom. And then I see that there's confusion about First Amendment rights. Comedy is supposed to be provocative. First Amendment expression covers porn, unpalatable types of entertainment. First Amendment protections go far. They don't cover defamation, libel, slander, and riot speech and hate speech. But your ability to vehemently express how much you don't like someone, it covers that. You can say you don't like someone and you can use your favorite colorful French words. So I don't know why the Kardashians in their privilege think they could curtail someone's verbosity, their lexicon. I don't get it. And they, at the very same time, at the behest of all these lawsuits, dismiss and flick off people. And the theme I see is they have the ability to use their fan base to belittle Black people. Every lawsuit that we've talked about where people have filed charges against them, their fan base and the way they manage the media makes them the victim. And no one looks at the conduct. Going and having closed door meetings, sending emails and refusing to film and stopping my $92,000 episode, that's not only is it's wrong, it's so disrespectful. And then it's the arrogance for them to go into court and try to shake her down. It's the arrogance on arrogance and arrogance. So I'm hoping that the jury will be able to forego looking at all of the bravado, all the finesse, all of this that they're talking about that has nothing to do with it. They used Tony's name in the courtroom purely for theater. It was purely for a soundbite, and it was disgusting that they did it. And I am disappointed that an attorney like Marty, who considers himself seasoned, would do such a cheap shot. Marty, step up, grab the federal rules of civil procedure and the federal rules of evidence and apply them and cross-reference them with your case and actually litigate. But in America, sometimes certain attorneys operate with that type of privilege. In the courtroom, they don't always bring the actual letter of the law. They lean on intimations, if you all know what I mean, and suggestions, instead of actually practicing law. So bringing up Tokyo Tony intimates that, oh, Chyna and her family are ghetto, just juxtaposed to the Kardashians, pure white as snow, white Jesus. That's a problem. Marty, you're a seasoned attorney with the intimation of an ad hominem. Litigate your case because you haven't addressed any of the claims substantively in the complaint. And Tokyo is not a part of this complaint. She's not party to it. So instead of addressing the meat, they go and try to attack and do round the way things, but we're calling them out. And I'll say it with my chest and I'll say it boldly here in every platform. The Kardashians, everyone's not going to like you, ladies. And that is not grounds for legal ramifications in your favor. Get over yourselves.
Absolutely. And of course, before I let you ladies go, I want to make sure that we are getting our points off. So Sip with Chyna, I want to thank you so much for attending and for letting us know all of this different fact points that you were able to bring to this. Is there any final things that you can share with us before we wrap to let them know where to find you all, where you stand on the situation, and any last things you'd like to add before we let you ladies go?
Yes. Honestly, what I stand on this situation is I just honestly want to see what's done correctly in court. I want justice to be served correctly, and not be favoritism. Don't do that. That's not okay. Like, people need to be treated fairly, and sometimes people have to be humbled, unfortunately. And you guys can find me at Instagram on Sit with Chyna, SIPWITCHYNA. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be below, and you guys can follow me on there. I definitely keep you up with the tea, and also I give actual real news of what's going on around the world as well. And I just joined YouTube, so you can find me on YouTube under the same handle, Sit with Chyna. Thank you.
And at the end of the day, the Kardashians are using the media power to put forth more fallacies and falsehoods. And Harvey, we all know falsehoods leads to more litigation.
Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, we have the astound Mrs. April. She is a lawyer in action, you guys. Please make sure that you are following up with her. Of course, we want to make sure that we know more about the Elevation Law Firm. Please get into them. All of their social medias will be tagged below. You guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in with TSB. And I want to thank you guys so much for really coming in and sharing open, unbiased information regarding this case. And as we have more information roll about, please know that you guys can catch us on Instagram, on live, as well as on different YouTube channels to make sure that you are getting the full scoop. Thank you all so much for tuning in and for sipping this tea with TSB. Bye.